I'm Gordon Ramsay. Welcome to Hell's Kitchen. Whose is this? I thought 45 minutes in the kitchen you'd come up with something a little bit more exciting than that. It's very boring.
Certainly.
First impressions, it looks disastrous. But actually, it's not bad.
Yes, chef.
That is absolute dog.
It's a family recipe.
Children's food. Really bad.
Yes, chef.
Let me tell you something, and listen to me.
Yes, chef.
You've got a lot to learn.
Okay.
Stop! You, get out! You're a disgrace!
Hey, welcome to my channel.
Hey, Uncle Kenny! Football! Hey, yeah!
If you're new here, my name is Cedric. I'm an actor, a filmmaker, a screenwriter, and a YouTube reactor. We are continuing our dive into the BANGTAN universe. We are a bit over halfway now through the Wings short films. These have been really exciting, and I'm absolutely loving every single thing about them. They are delightful in a very melancholy and sometimes painful way. As always, I want to say thank you so much to Anitra at Say What Reacts, as well as to my Patreon patrons. Thank you so much for supporting me. I know I've talked about it the past few weeks, but my schedule right now is absolutely insane and only getting busier. So your guys' support legit is what allows me to do this. Because if I didn't have that, I just wouldn't be able to do this right now. Because things are just really nuts in the best possible way. When you work in the film industry, it's a lot better to have too much to do than not enough. So I'm very blessed by that, but I'm just very, very grateful for all of your support and your understanding when I do have delays or anything like that with videos. It's very, very helpful. I don't really think I have a lot to do right now. I don't. It's for those of you that like the podcast, the All the World podcast. I don't have time to do the interviews right now, and that's okay. The podcast is really fun, and I love doing it. But I've got a lot happening. So feel free to check out the show and just listen to all the episodes. There's probably at this point about 40 episodes available on Spotify and Google Podcasts and wherever you get them. So feel free to check that out. It's called the All the World podcast. Without any further ado, I think we can just jump right in. I don't really have a lot to add to that. Let's just do it. Let's just jump in. Reflection. Insert Mulan reference here.
Who is that girl I see?
Nice. Cool opening. Reminds me of the beginning to either I Need You or Run. I can't remember which one, but I think are those waves I can hear? That could be a reference.
Every life's a movie. We got different stars and stories. We got different nights and mornings.
Nice.
Our scenarios ain't just boring. 나는 이 영화가 너무 재밌어. 매일매일 잘 찍고 싶어. 난 날 쓰다듬어 주고 싶어. 날 쓰다듬어 주고 싶어.
I like that tap on the hi-hat. That's nice.
내가 너무 미워. 사실과나 자주 나는 내가 너무 미워. 내가 너무 미울 때는 뚝섬에 와. 그냥 서 있어 익숙한 어둠과 웃고 있는 사람들과 나를 웃게 하는데 슬며시 다가와서 나의 손을 잡는 feel.
Oh, that's well written.
괜찮아 다 둘셋이니까.
I'm gonna have to look up what that word meant. I was trying to remember it. This is a really interesting opening verse. Just as a character study. Very clever lyrics. Sounded like an effect from Terraria.
나의 키는 지구의 또 다른 지름 나는 나의 모든 기쁨이자 싫음 매일 반복돼 날 향한 좋고 싫음 저기 한강을 보는 친구야 우리 옷깃을 스치면 인연이 될까 아니 우리 전생에 스쳤을지 몰라 어쩜 수없이 부딪혔을지도 몰라 어둠 속에서 사람들은 나보다 행복해 보이네 다들 자기가 있을 곳을 아는데 나만 할 일 없이 걷네 그래도 여기 섞여있는 게 더 편해 밤을 삼킨 뚝섬은 나에게 전혀 다른 세상을 건네 나는 자유롭고 싶다 자유에게서 자유
I'm gonna look up what that word means. It's a park overlooking the Han River. So he referenced that. Okay. It looks very pretty. I'd go there. Neat. I'll put up some pictures of what it looks like, what I'm looking at right now. That's cool. So again, it's another one of these songs that's very intimate and personal. They're kind of glimpses into their lives, not directly connected to the BANGTAN universe. Obviously, this is RM, not his character. But I'll be intrigued to see how this ties in. I really like how chilled and melancholy this song is. The lyrics, he's so smart. He's so clever, and the way that he's writing the lyrics and the flow that it has at the same time that it means a lot. It's an excellent reflection on reflecting. It's really like taking a hard look in the mirror and it's about knowing yourself and being aware of the good, the bad, and the ugly that exists in all of us. Ugly in some of us more than others.
지금은 행복한데 불행하니까 나는 나를 보내 뚝섬에서
I wonder if the reason he's mentioning Tuksum is because it has that circle. It's cyclical. He's mentioned rebirth and past lives, and Nirvana we know is a theme, so maybe that's associated with it. The beats picked up a little bit. That's a sad line. But I think anybody that's dealt with mental health has been at this point. You've thought about it. Again, it's one of those endings that just kind of trails off in an introspective way. So I'm really intrigued because just like with some of the other Wings songs that I've heard, this is a really accurate description of mental health. You know, some people will say, have you tried being happy? Which is the most useless thing you can say. That's so stupid. Mental health is a real thing. It's a chemical thing. It's happening. It's a reality. It may not jive with like the physical world, but we're dealing with the metaphysical, and there are no strict answers on how to process through that. And it's not about like you just need to love yourself. It's about being incapable of doing that and working through how to find the way to do that, because you want to feel better. I've never met someone with mental health issues, myself included, that liked being that way. It's not about attention. It's about like, this is the truth. You want to feel better. You want to love yourself, but you don't see how you can. And that is a really hard thing to deal with. Now, again, that's something that I've worked through and spent years working on. And I'm at a point where I'm very comfortable with myself and I understand myself a lot more as a result of that. But that is a reality. And that this song was a really nice way to encapsulate that and make it more visceral and explain it in a way that was easily digestible and easy to understand. So I am really excited to see how this plays into the short film, because I feel like there's a lot of directions they can go, but all of these are so abstract that I'm fascinated to see. I'm willing to bet that there's a moment where he looks in a mirror. I'm so clever. Let's see it. Big hit. Entertainment.
The other realm, however, overlapping half our house, was completely different. A loud mixture of horrendous, intriguing, frightful, mysterious things, including slaughterhouses and prisons, junkyards and screeching fishwives, calving cows, horses sinking to their death, tales of robberies, murders, and suicides.
Really uplifting. We've seen that with Jungkook. That was with Jimin. Or no, that was with Jungkook as well. There's a lot they're telling us here, and I'm sure I don't have all of it, but we've seen the motif of burning things. We've seen this Raven before with Jungkook. So the references here, the first three, they were all kind of pretty separate from each other. Now they're all coming together very, very quickly. So we've seen the Raven before. We've seen the burning the paper before. So this is what the other things are referencing. We still don't know what the red sky is. So I'm excited to see where that comes in. But I'm intrigued by the fact that he's wearing yellow. Why, you ask? That's a good question. Because on the opening of V's, when he's doing the graffiti, it was mostly green, but we saw yellow coming from above. And we know that V called him, and just before I paused, I heard a dial tone. So I think he's just answered the phone to try to help. And so I think that there's a direct connection that they're making there between those two events. We know that he was helping V escape before when he was tagging the wall. Well, now we're associating the two colors with them. We also see him drink, which I think is a connection to, we've seen the lollipops before where they're trying to hint that, oh, this is an adult thing, but we're showing it through a childlike lens. We're not this time. And we saw him drop the paper into it and then drink it, but the paper wasn't in there. So what does all that mean? But he's now collapsed into a similar position that V was in at the beginning of Run. And so that is really, really interesting. The way that they're mimicking both stories there. Because I've said before that I think that some of them are real and some aren't. And maybe that's the theory. Some of you are saying that one of my theories is pretty wrong. Which is fine, because I don't know which one. But if it's that one, then at least I've got evidence to support it, even though it's wrong. And I think that this is another key to that and to how that works. You notice, too, the back walls being that white light coming in. I don't think that that's as explicit a reference as some of the others that I mentioned. Maybe it is. I'll see. Is there a reason there were two of them? Or is that just a practical and a reason that they had the light coming in? One other thing. Shipping crate. I don't know if he's inside the shipping crate that we saw at the beginning, but you notice that it was really dark outside and then we're seeing light coming in. So are we dealing with two different realities there? And the shipping crate, we've seen it at the rail yard with the trains that we've seen before. And the last time we saw someone step into one of these, it became an apartment type of situation. This isn't that. So I wonder if those are connected somehow. Cool. Glass breaking again. Mirrors, called it. Very cool effect. Okay, I think the lights are intentional. Yeah! So the lights that were on either side of him, now the light's not coming in. They're more black and we're hearing a bunch of sound coming in. So I definitely think that those are supposed to be the equivalent of that. Now, why are there two and why is he split between them? The reflections, just real quick on a filmmaking note, That is a really brave thing to do, and it's really hard to do because what do you not want to do when you're making a film? You don't want to remind the audience that they're watching something. It pulls you out of the moment. So you can't show the camera, and that's really hard to do when there's a bunch of mirrors involved. The scene reminds me a lot of Rey when she goes down into the dark side pit in episode 8. It's just one of those references. There's a bunch of things where they involve mirrors, and I always think it looks so cool, but don't underestimate how insanely difficult it is to shoot something like that, because you're going to somehow catch yourself reflected in the mirror. So anyway, I'm going to take this back a little bit because they're doing some cool moments in the sound design. Dutch angle there. Oh, was that the glass breaking? Dutch tilt. Yeah, they're rotating that in. He's running. There's an urgency to go get it. Oh, it's locked up. See what his shirt says.
I was so good on myself. I was so good on myself. I was so good on myself. I was so good on myself.
Well, that says war. Is that what that says? Liar. Liar. So that could be a connection to Jimin. But that's very accusatory. Liar. Is he saying that... Is V saying, like, you said you would be there for me and you didn't answer? Because I don't think that it... We didn't see liar on there before. Did we? This is not there. It's not there. So that's really, really interesting. So now it says liar after he doesn't answer the phone. He tries to get in. But we just saw him break all the mirrors. So why can't he break the glass here? Is that the point? That you didn't try hard enough? That chain could probably be pulled down, right? So is that something that, it's like the symbolic trying to help. I wish I could love myself. If he and V are two halves of the same whole, V is asking him to love him and help him, and he's not. But we know that someone answered the phone when V called in the other video. So if it wasn't RM, then who was it? Note 2, and this is really interesting, the top of that phone booth is absurdly bright. That is not what phone booths look like. There's light shooting out of it in a square. So is that a reference to the other kind of portals of light, I guess I'll call them, that we've seen before? I think it is.
I was so good on myself. I was so good on myself.
I think it is. Yeah, I'm really intrigued by that one. They're really starting to pull things together and make it part of the larger narrative, but they have to do the setup. You have to, there's an old rule in film that if you see a gun in the first act, you'll see it being used in the third act of a film. So if you see a gun, like basically in the first 20 minutes, you'll see it being used in the final 20. That's the rule of, you have to do something later on in the film, you have to have set it up. That's the basic rule there. So the first several films were just set up. They were saying, here's the characters, here's the situation, here's what's happening to them. And I'm talking specifically about the Wings short films as they tie into the larger narrative. But treating these as one cohesive story, you have to analyze them that way. So I think that is a really interesting setup. Now, of course, that's using a 3-act structure, and I know that things are different across different cultures, but the whole point is to set up something, you have to have acknowledged it early on. In Parasite, they talk about the flickering lights. That has to matter. They have to have brought that up. Everything in Parasite is intentionally used for a reason. Again, to reference Knives Out, it's the same thing. Everything's set up, everything's there. They tell you everything. They have to. It's the rule.
Now, can anyone tell me what foreshadowing is? Yes, Miss Granger.
Foreshadowing is a dramatic device in which an important plot point is mentioned early in the story to return later in a more significant way.
Perfect.
So I'm just really, really intrigued by what I've seen, and it's very exciting to try to figure out where it's going, and adding these characters that are the other halves, and then changing what those relationships are too, adding all of them combining into that narrative where, yeah, we have the pairs, but then like in the last one with Suga and Jimin and Jungkook, well, now we've had V and RM connected. So how are all of these going to end up tying together? I'm excited to find out because I have 2 more to go. But for now, I hope you all enjoyed that. I enjoyed it quite a bit. So thank you so much for watching. Thank you for supporting. Thank you for being here. And we are hurtling toward the finale of these Wings short films. So this has been just an absolute blast, and I hope you all enjoyed. But until we see each other next time, please take care of yourselves, fix your posture. Brahe.